When you're looking to do something for your health, you're probably thinking about getting some exercise or maybe changing up your diet. Spending social time with friends might not be the first thing that comes to mind. Well, it turns out that social connection might have a bigger impact on our overall health and well-being than we originally thought. My name is Dr. Paul Sharp, and I'm a researcher with the UBC's Men's Health Research Program and a senior lecturer at the University of New South Wales. My research focuses on supporting men to live happier and healthier lives. According to the recent US Surgeon General's report on loneliness and social isolation, a lack of social connection can increase your risk for premature death, the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And we're not just talking about older adults here. About half of adults in Canada report that they experience loneliness, with some of the highest rates among younger generations. Now, COVID may have shone a spotlight on this issue, but this is not a new trend. Over the past 20 years, the amount of time we spend doing leisure activities with others, hanging out with friends, or just socially interacting with other human beings has significantly declined. And when it comes to men, there's this long-standing research that suggests we tend to have smaller social circles, fewer close friends, and engage in different kinds of support with each other than women do. And this has painted a fairly uniform picture of men, and it can be easy to assume that, well, maybe men don't want or need social connections. And we wanted to find out if this was truly the case, or if perhaps there's more to the story here. When I think about the benefits of social connection, I think about it in two ways. First, there's a benefit of feeling connected to those around us, having a sense of belonging, a sense of community. It's good. And as we heard before, it can actually have a positive impact on our physical and mental health. The second is as a bit of a safety net. And a challenge for a lot of guys is that they try and tough it out on their own, rather than seeking help from, say, a professional. But for a lot of guys, there might be some benefit in troubleshooting their challenges with their peers. Guys might be a little bit more open to talking with their peers than, say, a professional about what's going on in their lives. First, if they are struggling, they might not actually think that their struggle warrants professional intervention, or maybe they're skeptical that a professional might not be able to give them the help that they need. The second is that there's more give and take in a peer relationship. If you help me today, there's always the opportunity for me to give back down the road. So there's a mutual benefit of working together and getting through our challenges. Now, public health campaigns like Bell Let's Talk have really helped to move the dial and encourage people to speak up and talk about how they're really doing. But the fact of the matter is, men still account for 75% of suicide deaths in Canada. So we wanted to know, what do men want from their peer relationships? What are their experiences of connecting with other guys? And how do they support each other through the ups and downs in life? To explore this, we conducted a photo voice study where we recruited men from across Canada and asked them to take photos, just using their phone, of their perspectives and experiences connecting with other men and supporting each other. We then invited them back to share their photos with us, tell us what the photos meant, and expand on some of those ideas and challenges that they were facing. The benefit of this approach was that it gave guys time to go away and really reflect about those experiences with their friends. And everybody's heard the saying that a picture says 1,000 words, and that certainly applies here. It can be a great approach for topics that are sometimes difficult to discuss, or ones where we don't necessarily have the language to describe what we're feeling or experiencing. So in total, we collected and summarized data from 65 men from across Canada, ranging in age from 19 to 78 years old. This included hundreds of photos and hours of transcripts. And what we found was that men had diverse experiences. Some of the guys talked about the challenges of staying connected or making new friends after the age of 30. Others said that they were surrounded by men, but had a hard time connecting with them. Maybe they had a group of friends, they had buddies they hung out with at the bar, maybe they played on a sports team on the weekend, but they were looking for deeper connections. We also heard fantastic stories of camaraderie, guys supporting each other through a breakup, dealing with stress at work, and picking each other up when they were knocked down. One of the things that struck me was men's optimism for the potential of what peer support could offer. A lot of these guys were craving better social connections. The other thing that stood out to me was men's willingness to help out a buddy. Now, don't get me wrong, this willingness didn't always translate into action. There was things that got in the way, like not knowing that their buddy was struggling or not knowing how to help. But the intent and the motivation were certainly there. In fact, several men from the study actually followed up with me afterwards, looking for strategies to build more authentic relationships. So this podcast, as well as the In Good Company website, are part of our effort to bridge the gap between men's desire for connection and their willingness to help them develop deeper bonds and confidently support each other. In upcoming episodes, we'll dive into some of the perspectives and stories from men in the study. We'll troubleshoot the challenges that they faced, talk about their strategies and tools in different situations. We'll also talk with experts about how to build stronger relationships and provide better support to the men in our lives. I'm not saying you need to become a social butterfly. In fact, I would classify myself as more of an introvert. But doing this work has certainly caused me to reflect and think about my interactions differently. Just the other week, I was at the grocery store. It was after a long day of work, and there was an older gentleman beside me who started complaining loudly about the cost of meat. It would have been easy enough to dismiss him as some grumpy old man and turn and walk the other way. But I decided to give him the time of day, and I turned towards him and I engaged with him. I talked to this guy for about 30 minutes and learned that he used to be a butcher. He lost his wife several years ago, and he ended up helping me pick a cut of meat in the end. And in hindsight, I think he was just lonely. He was just looking for a chat, but he didn't know how to ask. And this isn't necessarily some feel-good story where I had him over for dinner after and we've become best friends. But his energy noticeably changed after the interaction. And I certainly left the interaction feeling more positive. And here I am, still talking about it weeks down the road. So we don't have to make huge shifts in what we're doing or how we're interacting. But maybe we can be just a bit more purposeful, a bit more thoughtful in our interactions with each other. So I encourage you to look for those guys in your life that you can rely on and that rely on you. And let's try and foster those connections. Let's try and build deeper and more authentic connections and actually check in, find out what's going on in each other's lives so that we can start to move beyond banter. Thanks for listening.